everybody. Welcome back to the 12's podcast. This is our manga review section. Of course, you all see the title below. We're talking about chapter 1995, A World Worth Living In. Not worth living in. A world not worth living in. And it's a pretty good chapter for the most part, if I do say so myself. Um, Currently down, in New York City, me 16, our homie JIV or AKA King J Bird one, who you guys know he streams with us a lot, and then Nerdy B 60, who does music production for our channel. It's all down here together to have a good time, go out, have fun, and of course interact with our fan base of the 1216 podcast.
Yes.
Get into it though. We are here to talk about the new chapter that just dropped. Everything for the translation is not one to one with it, but it's good enough for the most part that I can drop something for today, and then later on I'll give you guys a little update for what happens. But a world not worth living in, chapter 1995 starts off with us seeing Buggy the Clown being chasing down a monkey who stole his nose. This is such a nice title, cover art. Ichiro Oda always has something up his sleeve for these cover arts, and he's been doing it for such a great time. This man is a genius. I enjoyed it a lot. This cover page with Buggy, because the little monkey's running around. It's like a little baby too. It's just running around with his nose just taking off. And I like it. It's enjoyable. It's very much enjoyable. But of course, to get right into the chapter itself, we start off where we left off at, with Jay Garcia coming up out of the magical circle. We all know Jay Garcia, last chapter just started rising up out of the circle. And he's telling everybody who's not an admiral or a captain, if you're an admiral or a captain, pretty much stay behind. Everybody else, you need to get up out of there. You need to leave, or you will get your head blown off. Kind of like what we seen last chapter. As Jay Garcia is still there, we see that he rose up already. The Marines are all looking on, and we know that Bonnie still has the sword impaled through his beard and inside of his chest of Jay Garcia, and Bonnie is sitting there crying because she just knows already that Jay Garcia is responsible for the death of Kuma. The death of Kuma being her father, is definitely something that we don't want to take away from the story, because we know that Bonnie is pretty much tied in with her father, and she's been looking for a way to turn him back from a robot for the longest. We know that Kuma is a pacifista. He was a design built for it, and he also has some other stuff inside him, which is why they even went after him. Kind of similar to what we see with the Lunarian race, but we got another race coming up, so that's pretty cool. Always love seeing that. But Jay Garcia says everybody's freaking out. They're all screaming, "Oh, a girl says he's been stabbed. What in the world's going on? Prepare to fire, shoot that girl." Even Vegapunk's looking on like he's scared for her right now, because he knows that she's acting irrational and she's just doing everything out of emotional base. Jay Garcia, his eyes just light up though, and he immediately says, "Quiet down, insects. If I didn't want to be stabbed, I would have dodged." And he grabs Bonnie and squeezes her tight. And as soon as he grabs her, we all know who's there on site. It's Sanji. Sanji rushes in real quick to try to get Bonnie back. And as he goes inside there, of course, he gets knocked back because it's such a mismatched level inside of their fighting abilities. I don't think Sanji's ready for Jay Garcia yet. I don't think any of the Straw Hats are ready for Jay Garcia because of just how much on a different playing field that he's on. But Jay Garcia knocks Sanji back with one kick from that mysterious leg of his. We know he has the spider legs. It's like 6 legs that he has, I believe, with the flames around it, and it's the red flames with the black coating around it. I don't know if it's his hockey or something that has to do with whatever his magical ability is, or his devil fruit, or whatever the different new power skill it is with him, because we still don't know what it is. I still believe highly that he's a demon or a piece of Im Sama. Im Sama, of course, being the ruler of everything, is either created them years and years and years ago because they look the exact same, um, which again is very weird to me still because nobody has ever seen the Gurus. I don't think the Gurus has ever been seen by anybody because they look the exact same from years ago. So I'm wondering, did they get to a certain age and then die off just to be resurrected as a demon or whatever it is they are? Because they come, I know they all come out of the as a yokai for the most part, as a yokai, because they had to have got to a certain age, died, and been resurrected as a yokai or with that yokai ability inside them. So whether it's a devil fruit or whether or not they just once they ate the yokai devil fruit, they stopped aging, or once they died at a certain age, they got resurrected back as a yokai because of Im Sama's ability, or something along those lines. It's very interesting to me to see because there's a lot of different things, a lot of different theories that I have going through my mind with it. But back to the story. So Sanji, of course, is down for the count, um, and Jay Garcia has Bonnie in one hand, and he pulls the sword out of him with the other hand. And as he pulls the sword out with the other hand, we see his blood really isn't doing anything, um, but going away and getting smaller because he's self regenerating now, which is interesting to me to see because now we see that the Guru say, or at least Jay Garcia can regen if you know not saying Bonnie stabbed him with a hockey ability or something like that. She stabbed him with a regular sword. We all get that. But now he's regenerating. So do all the five Gurusei have that special ability? Or is Jay Garcia just an outcast from that? But he does end up healing himself and the wound ends up closing. Of course, we see that, Luffy is still down. He just finished his battle up. He had his last punch that he got off on Kizaru, and Kizaru's on the ground as well. And Jay Garcia just looks at him and says, "Even for you, that took longer than expected." And Kizaru is just up on the ground with his hand over his head, saying, "My apologies. I have no excuses. I don't think I can move for a while though," because he was pushed to his limits and he was punched through the temple while Luffy was in Gear 5 mode. So I will pretty much say that, he did some good damage to Kizaru. But while Luffy's laying down, Jay Garcia sees an opening, of course. And as a guru say, you want to take this opening to try to get rid of the person who's been causing you some of the most damage and difficulties that you've been having in general. And speaking of general, as the spider leg comes down to try to stab Luffy to get rid of him because Luffy can't move. He can't move right now. All you hear in the background is strong right, and we see Frankie shoot off his arm to punch Luffy away out of the blast, and then grab him. And as he grabs him, Jay Garcia, does show respect towards the crew. Of course, he says, "Oh, I see, you have a pretty strong crew. Even the world leaders at the top are after my captain's head," is what Frankie states. Frankie states this because he sees that the world leaders, the Gurus say, are after Luffy now. And with Luffy and Bonnie both out of commission, but they're both there, it's obviously seen as a unexpected join. But nonetheless, Bonnie has to be taken care of. So does Luffy. Bonnie's inside the hands right now, or the clutches, I should say, in the clutches of Jay Garcia, while we all seeing that Luffy got snatched back up by Frankie. Frankie did a great job at rescuing his captain. And as we go through some more of it, we get to see just the aftermath of what's going on with Egghead right now. This island's on the brink of destruction. Everything is going to be messed up soon by some twist of fate. If the Straw Hat Pirates can escape, Jay Garcia states that he would like to see it happen because he's pretty much seeing that they have the ultimate luck on their side. And he asks Vegapunk the simple question as who should he basically kill off first? So who dies first in the most painful order? It has to either be Vegapunk, Bonnie, or Luffy. And one of those three they have to go. He has to set an example, but nonetheless, Jay Garcia is trying to wipe them all out. This is, of course, Vegapunk for opposing the world government. He's trying to get back now, and Vegapunk is obviously not going to give himself up, or anybody else isn't going to say anything. But he's doing the right thing. He was forced to use his mind that him wanting to always create something and move technology forward. He was forced to create things that ended up becoming used as weapons in order to control the society. For the world government and the Guru say and the higher ups, all the celestial dragons, he created tools for them pretty much over the years to just have them used to rule with an iron fist, if I must, if you do say. But of course, we go through it some more, and we see that with Bondi inside the hands of Jay Garcia simply says that why is it that all humans do what they're told not to do? And they always get inside the way. And Bondi looks on and she says, I'll never forgive you for this for the most part because you're the reason why my father is no longer alive, Saturn. And Bondi looks on, and as she says that, Jay Garcia responds with a rebuttal and says, "Oh, your father is the I'm the reason why your father's dead." No, sweetheart. Father was born a slave because of who he is. He's a remnant of the tribe of people that committed a grave crime towards the world government. And he is the lone survivor of that. And the people that he's talking about is the Buccaneer people. So this is a different bloodline. The Buccaneer people have giant blood running through their veins. It's coursing through their veins, but they're still humans, of course. But they're not the same size humans. We get a quick flashback of Kuma and just how Kuma was, as he was a kid growing up. Ever since he was a child, he was always been seen as an outcast, been hunted down, or something's been going wrong for him. So we get a really good flashback that was well needed. And Kuma is inside his village. His father's around, of course. Everybody is there. They're all dancing. Just like the warrior of liberation, Nika is told, everyone aimed for the head is what was said to try to kill them, but the kill off the race, the Buccaneer race. So the Marines are surrounding them, but just like the word liberation, Nika was admired. And because Nika was admired, he was admired because he would dance into action with a smile on his face and the thumping of his beat. Ta dum 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 ta dum dum. And as this goes on, of course, we see that Bonnie is always going to sit there and she hears what her father always told her, that he will set her free too. Because she asked Kuma, would she ever be set free? And Kuma just simply said, of course. You're going to be set free as well, Bonnie. Because 47 years ago, we got to see a flashback of a kingdom that was inside the South Blue. And this kingdom inside the South Blue was a very large boy that was grown because of his father. And this is what was stated. Here is our little boy, Kuma. Oh, doctor. Kuma's father told the doctor to say, the doctor stopped him before saying anything and said, about his blood, we won't mention anything about it to the government. We won't mention anything about who he is because he came out as a happy baby. And for some reason, there was a mole inside of the hospital where Kuma was born. And that mole ended up ratting them out. And because that mole ratted them out, that turned Kuma's father and Kuma as a child into a slave, which is why Jay Garcia said earlier that Kuma was born into slavery. He was born a slave and he will always continue to be one for the government. Kuma's father had a shackle on him, so did Kuma. And Kuma's father was a slave for the Celestial Dragons, and so was Kuma at a young age because this little Bulgarian slave had the strength of men that were way older than him. He was able to do things as a slave for the Celestial Dragons and make them lots of money and actually push themselves into more cruelty work. But no matter how cruel it was, and no matter how many times Kuma cried because being a slave was very hard, it was one thing that set him apart, and that was his mother dying. Once his mother passed away, we see that Kuma, his laugh changes into him crying a lot. But his father tells him that it's okay, Kuma, because as long as you dreaming, she's in a better place now. As long as you keep dreaming, you're going to be saved by the sun god himself. The warrior liberation will come and free you one day. And he tells him that his mother's in a way better place now. She's passed on and she moved to heaven, and that he shouldn't have to worry about it no more because it's what's right. It's what is done to make her at peace now. She's free from the cruelty of this world. And that one day, the world liberation will come back and save Kuma as well. No matter how much Kuma wants to die, no matter what goes on, the world liberation, the god of the sun, Nika, is going to always be there in the back of Kuma's mind to one day come and save him from this tragedy that for being a slave. And as his father tells, as Kuma's father tells him the stories, he puts on a happy smile, whether it's a fake one or a real one. He tells him about how the rhythm to his moves make the people laugh around him. That the sun god Nika will be liberated one day. He's going to help people be free. And as he says that, that was his last breathtaking because a celestial dragon walks right in, aims a gun at him, and says, "Shut up, you're too loud," and kills him. So Kuma watches his father die right in front of him. It was 47 years ago. We move forward a few years, so to 38 years ago in the West Blue. They say, "Thank you for waiting." For once, and every 3 years, the population eradication tournament is going to be held. And now this tournament is something that is supposed to be held to control the population. It's mass genocide inside of a different form. This population eradication tournament, or the PET, is used from the world government to control the numbers of humanity. And this tournament this year was being held somewhere where it could only be held at. Somewhere where they can do much more than just have the ones who are slaves to them, but also hurt the human population and those who oppose them. At God's Valley was nothing at all, but it was claimed by the celestial dragons. It was called God Valley for a different reason, but why would it be called God Valley if the richest cannot use their resources to take over ownership of it? And as they take ownership of it, we see a young man with this bright red hair and this curly top walk in and with this nice long sword, and it's none other than Saint Garland. Saint Figurlin Garland, the God's knight. He walks in and he starts slashing down some of the people. And he says, "Oh, well, looks like we went and killed the kind of natives that we needed to." Saint minus 10,000 points from the start. Because he did that, he put himself at a disadvantage to be minus 10,000 points. And he said, "This should be good as a handicap for you all inside this contest." This year, the natives will be rounded up, but not just the natives, but also the problematic slaves will be rounded up as well. And these slaves will all serve a purpose and fight to the death. Only a few will survive. And since Saint Figurlin Garland is the one already eradicating them, he put himself at a disadvantage. He simply states that he's going to end up winning, but we do get the God Valley incident now. And then we cut over and we see somebody, a figure that we've seen before who looks the exact same, and this is 38 years ago. It's none other than Jay Saturn Garcia. And what is he doing over there? They asked him, "Sir, we have captured the child that escaped, the child of the Buccaneer tribe. This child that escaped was finally captured and thrown back in." He said, "You bastard, why are you trying to escape?" It's a responsibility that 10 of us have to take. And that they have to take the responsibility if somebody escapes in order for them to start doing things a different way. He said, "If you run away, the rest of us die too. Because if you run away, 10 people will die. If somebody else runs away, another 10 will die." So he has to think smart now. As a young kid, Kuma had to think very smart and strategic about the way that he wanted to do things. But as he was captured and thrown back in, he seen none other than slave Jenny, and who was also there with him, with Jenny? Jenny's big brother, slave Ivankov. And Ivankov was there laughing, hee hawing away, and just sit there and looked on as been he was as outgoing as possible as he always is. Ivankov left Kuma with a smile on his face. He told him at the very end, there's no way that you should have to worry. Just sit tight and hang on. I'm going to live on. What about you? And this chapter does something for me because it sets up what's to come. Of course, we see that Ivankov and Kuma were around, similar age. I won't say similar ages, but similar ages in a way. That they've been friends for a very long time. Because this is when Ivankov pretty much said, do you want to live? And as we know now, Ivankov is still alive as well as Kuma, and they're both members of the Revolutionary Army because they want to take down the world government. Also, we see Jenny out there at a young age, but we don't see her anymore. So this makes me believe that we're going to end up seeing God Valley incident happening, and Jenny's going to end up being one who gets killed off. And as she gets killed off, it's going to make Ivankov snap. But Ivankov, being Ivankov, who he truly is going to always have a smile on his face and even prevail over the death of losing his sister. He might snap and end up killing a lot of people. But we all know that the God Valley incident took place where we seen a setup for Rox versus Garp and Roger as they teamed up to take on this awful power crew. Will this be happening? Will we get this finally? Will this chapter come soon after we get a little bit more of the background flashback as a child for Kuma? As we see the flashback that ties Kuma to Ivankov and into Jenny as they come back into what we have on later on. We have a break next week, so that's a bummer, but it's a lot of things to think about now because I do want to see more of what can actually happen. Can Ivankov really take matters to his own hand and show them that being a slave is not everything that it's cracked out to be? Will Kuma actually overcome, being a slave? Of course not, because we see Kuma later on giving his body up to science and becoming a slave again and dying, just for the because that's just what he ended up doing. But he was a king, so for a short period of time, he does have this thing where he is free and becomes a king. That's why he has Bondi, of course, unless Bondi is not his real daughter, but with the connection they have and it being One Piece, who knows what's behind that? But I can't wait to see next chapter, 1996, that comes out in 2 weeks. But man, oh man, this has been something else. I love seeing Ivankov out there. As a kid, this just it shows just he's been himself since a very young age. Um, and it's amazing to see. I'm really excited about what's next to happen. Um, like the person that Kuma met while he's inside hell happens to be Ivankov. Oh, this is turning out to be something really good and really special. But stay tuned. Let me know inside the comments below what you think might happen. If you think we're going to get God Valley and see the God Valley incident for real, or are we just getting this little tad bit here and there with Shanks's, I don't know, grandfather or father? Who and it might be his father. They do have the same last name, of course. So I really want to see what's to come of him, and I'm thinking we're going to see him as that action when he was a younger kid, of course, because he was just a God Knight. He's not the leader of the God Knights. He's just a God Knight, and he looks like a beast. So stay tuned for next time. If you want more of the 1216 podcast, make sure you guys are doing the following. Hit that thumbs up, like everything we do out there. Hit that subscribe button. just so you don't miss anything that we do up there. So you show us some love. We're on our way to 250 subscribers. I hope we get them soon. We're doing another giveaway once you hit 250 subscribers, like we did at 100 subscribers, and then our next mark will be 500, and then 1,000. We're trying to take over the world, y'all. Come join this grand fleet with us and be on a ride with us. And of course, if you don't want to miss anything and miss a beat with us, well, no matter what kind of content we drop, hit the notification bell. And this is 12 signing off, and we'll see you guys at Comic Con.